Okay.
Okay, so first of all, my name is Kanoa Goring, and this is my tutu, Kawi Philpotts. So first of all, what is your full name given at birth?
Um, Given what?
What was your first name given at birth?
Oh,
Your first full name.
it was, oh, I hate to say this. Um, on my birth certificate, it says Karen Gay St. Sure. And, but I never used it.
All right. And Kawi was your Hawaiian name? Did you pick it
Oh,
for yourself, or how did
no.
you acquire that?
My mother gave me another Hawaiian name, which I never used really. It was Kananipua, and I think she didn't speak Hawaiian, so she transposed. I think it's supposed to be Kapua Nani correctly. So I never really used it. And then my mother's friend, a Hawaiian woman that lived down the street, she was pure Hawaiian, and she was one of the children that was raised by Queen Liliuokalani. And she was the one because Auntie Robbie couldn't say Karen. So whatever she called me came out sounding like Kaui. So it was Mrs. Coleman, and Mrs. Coleman said, "Oh, you should call her Kaui," and that's been my name ever since.
Wow, I never knew that. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah,
So that would be your nickname now, your Hawaiian name, this
it's
Kawi now.
really a nickname, but it's a name I've used ever since high school. So I know when people call me Karen, I know that they didn't know me very well or they knew me in grade school.
Okay,
Because
wow, it
I,
goes all the way back to high
yeah,
school
I
when you were
never
a kid.
used it in grade school. It goes way back to the 1940s.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so when and where were you born?
Paia, Maui. When?
Yeah.
On November 23rd, 1940.
Wow. Okay.
Long time ago. Almost a century.
So I guess in short, what can you tell me about your mother? Anything you can tell me about your mother? Maybe her name, what she did.
Oh, okay. Her name was Sarah Shaw. Her Hawaiian name is Leimomi, and she was the youngest of five children. Both of her parents were part Hawaiian. Um, Her father's family came from Kohala on the Big Island. Her mother's family came from Hilo. And you know from studying Hawaiian that it's um, the places that your heritage is are really important. So we're really Big Island people. You know, our even though I grew up on Maui and you have too, we're really our roots are really on the Big Island, both in Hilo, Hamakua Coast, and the District of Kohala. So that's kind of yeah.
So that would be where our Hawaiian heritage comes from. The
Yes. And
Hawaii
both
Island mostly.
sides. Um, your My grandfather was part of the Hussey clan. It's a huge part Hawaiian family from Kohala, North Kohala. And my grandmother, my grandmother, your great grandmother, comes from Hilo, and she comes from a Hawaiian Chinese family. And she had a haole father who was a Luna on the sugar plantation up in the Kohala Coast. But she was Hawaiian Chinese, and she was a weaver, and apparently a really sweet lady. I think I met her, but I didn't know.
Oh, all right, awesome. So I guess in short, what can you tell me about your father, his name, and what he did?
His name was Richard Pete St. Sure. Not Pete was his nickname because he liked to carve out of peat soap. So they started calling him Pete. He actually, his racial heritage is Irish and Swedish with a little Ojibwa Indian. But he was actually born in 1906 on the Big Island, and he was born on Parker Ranch. And he also was the youngest of five children. And his father was the physician for the cowboys on the ranch. So again, it's even on my father's side, it's Big Island heritage. His father was a doctor from San Francisco, and his mother was Mabel Mossman, who her family helped found the Episcopal Church in Wailuku. She came as a missionary. She was actually only 14. She came with missionaries, and she played the organ in church, and she taught children Sunday school. So anyway, but that's on Maui. That's
Oh,
Wailuku.
I didn't know that. That's pretty cool. Um, so I guess um what do you know about your great grandparents from both sides of or from your mom and your dad's side? Just what you know about your great grandparents.
Well, that's kind of, what I was talking about my grandparents.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, my maternal grandmother was a school teacher,
Yeah.
and she came from Hilo. She was educated in Honolulu at what was then called the normal school. Oh,
Okay.
maybe just because they were normal, I don't know. That's where all the teachers went to. And actually, when she was going to school, probably turn of the 1900s, on the turn of the 20th century, they were, um, there were um, a lot of Hawaiian haole school teachers, and they they were kind of a class unto themselves. I think they probably thought they were much better than most people because they were educated. But
Yeah.
DOE was filled with, like, even when I was going to school, a lot of part Hawaiian teachers, which is unusual today, I think. So,
Oh, okay. Thank you. Uh, do you have any siblings, which I know you do? And if so, what are all of their names? Their full original names.
oh my goodness. Uncle Charlie is Charles Richard St. Sure. Auntie Danny is Diane Lynn St. Sure Ho. And Auntie Robbie is Roberta Lena Allah. And then she was a punna for a little while. And then she decided that she would take her maiden name back, even though she's married. She's just sassy.
Yeah.
Auntie
Oh,
Robbie is sassy.
yeah. Okay, so now tell me about where you grew up. So I know you grew up in Paia, Maui. So just kind of tell me generally how or what it was like growing up over there.
Oh, totally different from what you've experienced. Like when I grew up in Paia, the Paia you know now is what we used to call Lower Paia. And it was not really plantation. It was a lot of a lot of the people that live down there in Paia own their own businesses. A lot, big Asian population, Japanese, Chinese live down there. Um, I grew up actually above Paia, about where it was called Skill Village, but it's not at all like the Skill Village that's there today, which is kind of, I don't know, they just threw up this housing. But Paia was really pretty, and it was a pretty big sized town, it and everybody lived in it was a sugar town. So I grew up above the mill, but below Makawao. So it was like Upper Paia. And there was a real difference because all of Upper Paia, which doesn't exist at all now, there was like a mill and a market and a meat market and a library and all these churches and bakeries. And it was a big, Paia was a huge place when I was growing up there in the 1940s. It was HCNS plantation, and everybody lived in camps depending on your nationality. You would live like there was a Portuguese camp next to where I lived. Then there was a Japanese camp. We had friends in all the camps. So it was a totally different Maui. It was very segregated at the time. And we lived in Skill Village, which was mostly Haole, some Portuguese, and some other nationalities, but almost no Asian in my neighborhood in Skill Village, because you had to be a skilled worker or you had to work in the office, have a white collar job, which my father had. And
Okay.
then all the people who worked in the fields or worked in the mill, they all lived in the camps according to their nationality. That's so different, isn't it?
It is.
So if you were
Yeah.
Japanese, you lived in the Japanese camp or the Filipino camp. And
Yeah.
but when you're a kid, we played in all of them. So we ate everybody's food, and we knew we knew people of all nationalities.
Wow, that is really different from today. That's
Very
entirely different. Um,
entirely different. It was we were not really considered, we were half, we were hapahalis, and Tutu was very young when she married Grandpa Pete. And I think she was like 20 years old, or she maybe was 19, and she had me when she was 20.
oh wow.
So she was just a girl, Tutu was a young Hawaiian girl who had married this Haole guy that was maybe a decade older. So she was kind of lonesome in that camp.
Oh,
She didn't have her girlfriends.
yeah.
So we grew up with maids.
Okay.
Had mostly Hawaiian maids or Portuguese Hawaiian girls came to live in our house with us to take care of us. But I think because Tutu, the maids were her friends. She
Oh,
made them
okay.
her friends, even though they were young, because there weren't any local girls around, her neighborhood anyway.
Wow. Yeah, that would make sense. So just in general, what did you do for fun when you were a kid being raised in Paia? And secondly, how has Paia being raised in Paia uh changed you as a person, just in general, maybe growing up?
Yeah, I think we have to remember, I mean, I'm so old that I was raised without no TV, no phones, certainly no cell phones, no
Yeah,
computers, nothing. So if we wanted anything, we had to go to the library and read if we wanted to know anything.
yeah,
Um, the news came in on the radio, We'd listen to the news on the radio, otherwise, or there were newspapers, but kids didn't read the newspapers.
yeah.
And so we were kind of isolated. Um, I think the good part is that we were really imaginative because we had to make up. We had to actually, um, we played. That's all we did. We played outside, but we climbed trees and we made houses and we ran around all over. We ran around um, dangerous, actually. You know,
Oh,
we were quite dangerous. Like it would be nothing for me and my girlfriends to get on our bicycles and we would ride from Paia to Hamakupoko on our bicycles through the cane fields. And
wow.
so can you imagine today parents letting their kids, yeah, go, you know?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we went everywhere, you know.
Wow, that sounds like a quite a, maybe dangerous in terms of today, but that sounds like it was a quite a fun childhood, I would imagine.
It's very dangerous. I mean, it wasn't that dangerous at that time, but
Yeah.
parents did not, if you left the house after breakfast, they didn't see you till, unless you wanted food at lunchtime, you came and got
Hmm.
some food. But otherwise, they never saw us until lunchtime. And then we knew it was time to go home because there was a mill, sugar mill, and they blew a whistle for all of the workers, pauhana. So when the whistle blew, we knew we had to go home.
Okay. So tell me about the schools you attended in your childhood. It,
Kindergarten, I went to Paia school. Only thing I remember about it is that I got a black eye and I terrified all the kids in school because I would scare them with my black eye. And
oh,
was a kindergarten kid that went to school wearing dark glasses, which probably made me out to be pretty bizarre. But anyway, and then also it was World War um, II was just ending, and Hawaii was very isolated. So, we were raised on canned milk, like evaporated milk, and they put water
yeah.
in it. And so, like, the most thing I remember is our snacks at school used to be a cup of canned milk and a cracker. We loved that.
Uh,
And that today you go, ew, but we loved it. And then I went to Kaunoa school. I'm probably telling you way more than you care.
oh, this is
Kaunoa,
interesting. This is good.
yeah, Kaunoa school. We went on the bus, come and pick us up. We'd go to the corner and pick us up and take us to school. It was an English standard school, and it was considered kind of the snooty school. It was a public school, but you had to take a test. And the test was an interview, and they tested how well you spoke English. And that
Oh,
was the
okay.
test to get into. Because if you didn't speak Pidgin English, which is what everybody spoke at the time, everybody. And so if you were able to speak good standard English, then you were accepted into Kaunoa school, which meant all the Hawai'i kids went there. And there were about 4 or 5 part Hawaiian kids like me, and we got in because we spoke proper English. And then the better educated Asian kids, mostly from families who were the Asian kids, either the families had businesses and they were prosperous, or they were physicians or dentists or professionals.
Yeah.
So everyone hated us because they
Hmm.
thought we were this nudie school. Anyway, that was true all over Hawaii, had these schools. Every island had them.
Okay, so tell me about I guess just tell me a little bit about your time at Kamehameha schools on Oahu, how that was like for you.
It was a hard time for me. Um, I went to Kamehameha. When I went, I was still 11 years old. And and I was at Kamehameha until I graduated in my senior year. I was 17. So, um, to leave your family when you're 11 and be a boarder, from then on, I never really lived at home except for summer. Once I went to
Wow.
Kamehameha, because there were 4 kids in our family, and even though my father made a good salary, he was a party boy, and he spent all his money partying.
Oh.
So it wasn't like today people jump on the plane to come back and forth. Only time I ever saw my parents after the time I was 11 was sometimes at Thanksgiving, 2 weeks at Christmas, and then during the summer. That was it. Never lived at
Wow.
home. I always lived in a dorm until I was 17. So it Kamehameha, and your girlfriends, and it wasn't mixed. It was all the boys' school and girls' school.
Yeah.
And the girls' school was very strict. We never left the campus. Only time in all those 6 years I ever left the campus was on Saturdays from like 8 or 9 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon. Period.
Wow.
That was it.
Wow, I can't really imagine doing that
Yeah.
today.
So your friends really become your family,
Yeah.
and Kamehameha was very hard in those days, especially on boarders who came from other islands, and they they couldn't go home. They couldn't afford to fly. So like I'd be like Thanksgiving or Easter break, I would be farmed out to relatives in Honolulu. So I'd go and stay with them for the week. So, after a while, you get very independent. You're not as connected to your siblings, because you don't know them. You're stuck up there in school.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we all became very close once we became adults. But as children, we hardly knew each other.
Wow, that's something I have like a hard time imagining today.
Yeah.
Like for me, because I know there's still boarding schools, around the world, but I'd imagine it's a lot different than it was back in the
A
day.
lot.
All right, so I guess moving on to your adult life, I guess just tell me about a few of the jobs, maybe most significant jobs you've had in your life, and I guess your most significant career path that you ended up going down throughout or in your life.
Well, It was interesting that when I was at Kamehameha, there was a principal, Dr. Frederick. She was in charge of the girls' school. And I remember I must have been kind of naughty because I got written up for attitude all the time. And I was sent to the principal's office. And I think because I was pretty smart, but I never wanted to be with the smart girls. I always wanted to be with the bad girls. So um, she must have looked at my grades and things that teachers said. And instead of punishing me, she said, every time you get really angry, I want you to write in your diary. I want you to write. And I think she realized or maybe an English teacher told her that I was a good writer. And this would be a really good way to find out what was going on with me. So that was the first. Anyway, I got through college because I partied all the time. I didn't go to class because it was way too early in the morning for me.
Uh,
And but I remember that if I did go to the later classes, but I remember that if I listened to the lecture, I didn't even have to read the book because I could write, and I could write the essay questions, and
wow.
I could write circles around, and I knew nothing. So, I mean, I knew a little bit what I had heard in lectures. So that was the first indication that I could BS my way through. I was in the travel industry in Waikiki in the 1960s, which was fun. It was just party, party, party. And I got married in the 1960s. I'm really embarrassed to tell you 3 times because I was sort of a hippie and I just got married. And foolishly, I mean, just crazy, including your grandfather, who was the last one, and it lasted longer. So as far as I mostly worked in the visitor industry. I worked in San Francisco for trade wind tours. Your grandfather was also in San Francisco, and this was in the late 1960s, which was a very turbulent time. It was like all the anti-war marches, what do you call it? The riots, the race riots. So we were all kind of hippies back in the 60s, young and protesting and everything.
Yeah.
But when I came back to Maui, I needed a job. And we lived on Molokai for a while because we were hippies. And try to grow our own stuff. And I was baking bread, and your father was a baby, and I think I had him on my back like a papoose. Anyway, and anyway, we were kind of hippie-ish, but I really needed a job, and the man across the street worked at the Maui News, and he said, oh, they're looking for somebody in the ad department. So he said, why don't you apply? So I applied at the Maui News.
Most significant career path that you chose in your life? What is the main job that you chose to pursue?
Definitely as a journalist, a writer. And I didn't go to school for it. I was a theater and drama major, but I just made it up, and in those days you could do that. Today you could just BS your way into something. And if you could do the job, then you were hired. So I really learned by doing it. And I thought, because I dropped out of college, if you can imagine, in my third year. Never do that. That's such a
Hmm.
waste of time. And as a result, I could do nothing, you know. And so it, the one thing I really, really learned is we really know what we're good at if we pay attention, and that you shouldn't be afraid to ask for what you want. You know, a lot of people are too shy and they think they should be recognized just because they're really good at something. But I really learned that if you want something, you need to ask for it. And you need to stand up for yourself and say, hey, I can do that, you know, and it'll open a lot of doors. And the other thing is to be kind, you know, think about other people's feelings also, because a lot of things that people do are not with their head, they're with their na'au, you know, what's in their gut. So that
All right.
we have it for
So that was good. So, who was your latest partner or spouse, and
you.
how did you meet Papa Dougie? So,
Papa Dougie was a great, how did I meet him? Oh, I was at a party up in Kula, and I went to the party with another date, and he came as somebody else's date. So, and I was introduced to him then. Um, he worked for actually, he was a new young president of Hawaiian Trust Company at the time. And and he just called me out of the blue. And I remembered his name because it was a funny name. And I remember thinking of the name and then looking at him, and I almost did not know when I went on my first date with him. I was trying to remember which one he was
oh.
because I'd met a lot of people that evening. But anyway,
Hmm.
yeah. But
Oh, nice.
yeah,
Oh,
but
I'm sorry.
we were married for over 35 years or so. So,
Wow.
you know, that was, I had, in the meantime, I had grown up, and it took me till almost 50. So, anyway, that's it.
Nice. Okay, so what are your two kids' full names that were given to them from birth?
Oh, gee. Stuart Kamukai Rowley, and Kamukai was my great grandfather's name. Um, and I always, and of course, your dad, who was Kenneth Reginald. Reginald was named after, of course, his British grandfather.
Hmm.
Um, but when your father was, I think he was in college at the time, I felt bad because he was a surfer and he was a local boy, and I never gave him a Hawaiian name. So I called um, Hoku, Hoku Padilla. She's a kumuhula and very respected on Maui. And she was a friend of mine. And I said, Hoku, he needs a Hawaiian name. So she made us do a whole thing, and she had to get to meet him and everything. And at the time, he was having, you know, a lot of difficulties. It was a hard time for your dad. So she gave him this name, Kamaehu, which he's never used, but it was a powerful thing because and she reminded me it did not have an okina. It was not kamaehu. It was kamaehu, one foot. Anyway, because he needed the strength to stand firm. And that was what his name was, why it was given him. And he's never embraced it. She also said we have to have a sort of a ceremony. You have to bestow that name. It just, So we had, here he was already in college, I think, and we had a dinner. But I don't think your father even remembers it. And I don't think he ever really embraced the name. But it was given him for strength for the years that were coming.
Wow, I knew that he had a Hawaiian name. I didn't know what it was or what it meant. So that's pretty interesting to know.
Yeah, and actually, he should know that. He probably doesn't
Oh,
realize it was, Auntie Hoku. Do you know Hoku?
oh, I
Hoku,
don't know.
she's a friend of Auntie Robbie. I think she also named. She's a kumuhula, and she also named Lehia. Pretty sure.
Okay.
And at that time, we were all young. Auntie Robbie was part of and Uncle Ricky were part of the Kaho'olavi Ohana at the time. And it was when they occupied the island. So Hoku was part of it. It was part of the start of the Hawaiian movement.
Okay, very interesting, very cool. So, I guess moving on to more personal questions. What do you, I guess, in general, to today, what do you, I guess, and do to enjoy yourself, or what are things you do for fun in your current life right now? Just
Eat,
in general, yeah.
eat.
I mean, there's
Um,
so many amazing restaurants around Honolulu. I feel like any you could have the best cuisine from uh or you could go to the best restaurant for any type of cuisine and it would be amazing.
yeah, it's true. Last night, Uncle Charlie and I went to Istanbul for Turkish food. Yeah, no, I like to dine out with friends. When you get to my age, it's really your health and your friends and your family. So, because I was always independent and everything, and too much so, I think, for my family, I try not to participate more, even though you guys are far away from me. Stuart's kids are far away from me. Um, I try to see you more, but we don't live on the same island, so it's hard.
Yeah.
But but I hope we can get together more.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. And I
Yeah,
think I think we will. So,
yeah.
so for my last few questions, what are some of the most important things in your life that you've witnessed or experienced? Maybe some most significant events or memories that have helped shape you as a person throughout your life. Maybe just a couple.
Wow. Um, I don't know if any of these help shape me as a person. I think because
Or maybe any significant important things or events that you've just witnessed within your lifetime or
um
experienced.
things that well, I think I can remember the end of World War II in a weird way
Wow.
because all of the churches started ringing their bells all over the
Wow.
town, even in Paia. All the church bells were ringing. So I do remember that. And I was with my little friend who was a Japanese girl. one of my best friends. And I do remember that. Um, I remember the assassination of John Kennedy, which was a huge thing. People were crying in the streets and
Wow.
nobody wanted to work. And for days, things were shut down. It was big because he was a young man and he was like a golden man. You know, everybody was so the assassination of Kennedy was a big thing. Um, when I was in San Francisco in 1968, the assassination of Martin Luther King that year, Bobby Kennedy, Martin Luther King, and something else happened that year. Um, oh, and the Vietnam War was on, but that was really instrumental because um, that changed a lot of things for people. Um, I think 911. I think we have so we have many free. I mean, we don't have as many freedoms as citizens of the U.S. Since 911. We used to be able to
Wow.
just jump on a plane like it was a bus. I mean, I can
Yeah.
remember running down the runway to catch a plane that was about ready to go. You know, you can't do that anymore. And
Wow.
yeah, lots of things have changed since since 9/11.
My last two questions, I'll just combine them here. So, who, or what or who would you say is the biggest influence in your life and why? Maybe a person or something. What would you say, or who or what has influenced you the most in any facet of your life? And then, how would you like to be remembered as a person within your family or friends, or just how would you like to be remembered as a person?
I hope just kind and generous, you know. Um, I am a little bit secretive, and I mean, you'd never know from my interview, but um, and influences,
I
I
guess
don't
who
know.
or what is the biggest influence in your life, or has been, or is now, in any facet of your life? But who would you say would be the biggest?
You know, I think your grandfather, believe it or not, um, your grandfather um, was really the first one that opened me up to a bigger world. Because you know, although I never talk about him much, and he had a lot of, you know, a lot of characteristics that really were not good. He was so smart and he was so curious about everything. And um, the 1960s, living in the Bay Area with your grandfather really did change my. I think I became less local girl and more bigger world. Is that because of your grandfather? And I hope he's up there in heaven somewhere, and I hope he knows that because I don't think I ever told him that. And I think he has no way of knowing that he really opened up um, what was possible.
Oh,
So I,
that's really awesome to hear. Because all I hear, obviously, from Dad, I hear, some of his other his like you said, some of his not so good characteristics, but way more than that, I hear about how much Grandpa Ken really just changed Dad as a person. Like the way Dad is now is really because of Grandpa Ken. A lot of his influences, and just yeah, like I said, who he is as a person. I just hear how. how good of a man he was at heart. And it's just really nice to hear that about, someone, my grandpa who've never met. So,
Your grandpa Ken was brilliant. He was so smart. And he had a one tragic flaw was that he was an alcoholic. And so he failed in so many ways, socially and society and everything. But I'll tell you, he was a kind person and he was a victim. He was a victim of alcohol and of his addiction. And he had but he was a lot of fun. And when I knew him, he was early on in his addiction. Eventually, I couldn't live with it because he was also a big philanderer. I mean, I just got
okay.
tired of his affairs, but um, he opened up for me a different world. He really started me reading, and and he was a lot of fun and interested in the world, and he really changed my life. And it's surprising. I never thought about it until this moment you asked me that question.
Wow.
I
Well,
never ever thought about it. I would have said Dougie, but there would never have been a Papa Dougie without your grandfather.
well, that's really awesome to hear.
And
As
please
much as
tell your father that because he
I will,
doesn't
I
know
will.
that. I
As
didn't know
much
that.
Wow. So as much as this is a interview for my school project, I was actually really just excited to do this because looking at our list of required questions, a lot of this stuff I'm unaware of about you. So it's just really cool to be able to have this. And I'm recording these answers and I'm putting them into I'm making a private YouTube video and it's just for my teacher to grade me on this project. But it's kind of also there as something to look back on, as this record of all these other questions that I can always look back on. So that I'm just really glad, we can be able to do this. So
Well, thank you because I just learned something from a question that you asked me, and it's something I think is really important for your father to know. So, as a favor to me, you might share it with your father.